Hello everyone, good morning. So in this video, we'll be learning about the firewall. What is the basic firewall and what are the functions, how it works, why do we use it, and the types of a firewall and the best practices and how we configure the firewall in a network. So in this diagram you can see the basic firewall or the basic firewall, and the firewall is connected at your perimeter, like the communication to the internet. So where your ISP connection terminates, just after the firewall is placed to have the monitoring control of your traffic going out to the internet, or traffic coming from the internet to your network, so that you can have the control over the traffic and what you have need to allow and what you need to block. Firewall in terms of like this is for the small office. So firewall is a security system which controls your traffic outgoing and incoming. And why do we use it? To have the unwanted traffic entering into the office, entering into your network, accessing your critical information, so you can have the control and you can block there. And also what you want to allow for your resource to have the communication out on the internet. So your resource are sitting in your office, they must have some business to do with their bank, with their some government sites to have the communication. So based on their requirement and authenticity, you can allow for those URLs only, but not for all. You cannot like you will not allow, or the any office or any corporate network will not allow like social media sites to have a employee sitting in the office and have the communication to have the access to the social media. So that is a waste of a time and your resources will not be the productive for your organizations. Different part of a network, you can have a leg defined on the network, like internal sites, external in terms of an internet connectivity, internal like your all the resources where server, your users, your multiple subnets can have and can be defined, and that is considered to be the internal. One more leg is considered to be the DMZ, that is a demilitarized zone, where you have some business like any for example facebook.com, that is accessible over the internet. So facebook.com can be placed into the DMZ, where your internal users as well as external user can have the access to that DMZ server or DMZ application. So any application which is like is about to be exposed on the internet, that is advisable to be hosted on the DMZ. See, this is your firewall, this is external DMZ. DMZ nothing but you can consider it internal zone, but little bit less secure as compared to your internal zone. So you know that the external traffic will fall on this zone. So you segregate this zone, that external traffic should not come into the internal zone. So all your critical resources will be safe from. So it acts as a security barrier between trusted internal networks like your home, office LAN, and untrusted external network, that is the internet. Why it matters? It acts as a barrier between trusted network. And if we talk about the rules, how it filters the traffic. So based on the like source and destination. So suppose your internal subnet is 172.31.0.0/24 network, and your DMZ is 172.1.0/24. So this is the address space you get for your services to be hosted on, and this is your internal, where your office employees and your servers are internal servers are hosted. So and it works based on the source and destination. Source, destination, services like port details in the sense like sometime web access. Mostly if you're going onto the internet, so it would be web 443 or 80, port 80. And some other services you can also have the communication. So these are the ports. So once the traffic comes on the firewalls, it will check the source and destination. If source and destination are matched, then it checks for the services, and then it have a action to take. So if it is like you have a action defined to block it, it will block, otherwise it will allow if you have allowed it. So key functions of the firewall are traffic filtering, so that I have explained in the introduction. Access control restricts who can access what services and devices. So based on the for example, you can segment your internal subnets. Like if it is a 24, you can again subnet it to a smaller subnets, and can have the granular control what services who can communicate to whom. And best network address translation, it happens on the external, like dnet, source net, that we'll be learning into the further videos. Logging monitoring, best practices is a logging monitoring. Why do we log? Because in future, if you have any issues, you can have the look into the logs, and you can identify the trouble issues where it happens, and if the communication is allowed or not, if the user not able to access any services onto the internet. So you can have the look into the logs, so you can find out how do we set up firewall. So you can, like, if you have new firewall and how to connect to the internet, for example, you have a one new office to be set up, and have the firewall to uh, securely have the communication to the internet or the within two offices. So first of all, if you get the local new firewall, so connect the firewall by a web browser. For example, some IP or management IP would be assigned to it. Log in with the credentials. Some if you have a new firewall, you will be having a default credentials, admin sometimes, or it is written on the box, and it is a different as per the vendors. Define zones, so that I have already defined. There are basic three are there are three legs, but multiple zones you can define, like you can have four zones. Internal, you can internal one, internal two, based on the subnet defined to it. And create rules. So rule are inbound and outbound. Inbound in the sense from internal to external, internal to DMZ, or based on the action you can define deny or allow. Deny will block the traffic, drop the traffic, and from inbound traffic from external to internal and external to DMZ. So based on your requirement, you can configure the rules on the firewalls. Enable NAT. So as we know that the private, there are some IP address range, private range and a public range. So private IP addresses are not routable onto the internet. So to have the communication onto the internet, you will have to have the your private IP to be NATed to a external IP. So for example, if any IP is assigned to this interface, external interface, your internal IP will be NATed to that. So there are more about the natting, so I'll be explaining it into the in a different video. So for basic, you can consider that private to public, private IP to public IP. So public IP then will go on to the internet and have the communication, and revert back will be again translated, and your packet will be transferred to your source. So what are the best practices? Start with the default deny rules. You should deny everything, and then based on the need basis, you can have the allow rule. And regular regular update firmware, update your firewall whenever there is a stable version, because of older version uh, uh, attract some vulnerability, and also some issues from the cyber attack or a cyber security point of view. So it is best to have the firewall upgraded to the stable version every time. And monitor logs and alert, I have also explained. Yeah, thank you. And the next video will be learning about the next nodes, that is a router.